Batman Arkham Asylum was very disappointing to revisit, and I came to the conclusion that it does not hold up as well as everyone thinks it does, in my opinion. I feel like nostalgia really makes people overlook all the glaring problems that game has. So if people love Asylum despite all of its issues, then I must be in for a treat with the game that's regarded as the best in the series, Batman Arkham City. I do remember liking this game much more than Asylum, and everyone says it's the best one, so I was almost worried to replay this game, because there's so much more to lose. However, before I replayed the game for this review, the further I was from the last time I played it, the more and more I liked it. Reviewing games has helped develop how I think critically, making me like games less than I used to, and more than I used to. So let's see which side Batman Arkham City falls into. To preface, there will be spoilers, and I am playing the Return to Arkham version, so Harley Quinn's revenge will be included. Like I did with Arkham Asylum, I want to take this game at face value first, and look at its presentation. It still has that comic book aesthetic with the big-ass moon and accurate character designs, but they sort of swayed away from the campy side of comics to the more realistic side of comics, or the side that tries to be as realistic as possible. Like, they still have ridiculous designs and have goons running around wearing their masks, but they sort of over-design them. Usually Catwoman just wears a black latex bodysuit, similar to Black Cat. This is not that. I think they got a little swept up in trying to establish their own identity. The first game was a playable Batman comic. This game is an Arkham game, and while that does come with some flaws, I do think that it's for the better. This game is also super blue, which brings a very cold feeling to this game, which is honestly perfect considering the winter season, the enemies you face, and how an entire section of the map is flooded. I don't really think that this game is very pretty to look at, but given how Arkham City is practically no man's land, I think it fits perfectly well. When it comes to the gameplay, I genuinely believe that Arkham City improves upon Asylum in every way. I mean, that's not a very high bar to clear, but still, the gap in quality is unbelievable. There's still room for improvement, as we'll see in later installments, like not having the grapnel boost from the start, and then not being able to upgrade it when you finally do unlock it. But most of these issues are outweighed by things like the improved gliding, which is actually fun this time around, the addition of beatdowns, and the wide assortment of gadgets. The thugs you fight have more variety as well, which is great for the most part and never really feels too repetitive. Even the returning Titan Giants don't play the way they did last time, which is a nice change-up. And I do like the addition of Riddler thugs who you have to avoid taking out until they're the only one left, so you can get Riddler collectible locations. But even though it's improved tremendously since the last game, the combat still has some flaws. Batman will still just throw out an aimless punch in the middle of a 40-hit combo even though I'm pointing the analog stick in the right direction. And one of the worst enemies to fight are the pussies that hide behind Riot Shield. Now, I wouldn't mind them so much if there was actually a way to defeat them, and I know what you're thinking. Carter, they tell you an easy way to defeat them when you first encounter them. It's so easy. Just cape stun them with circle and then double tap X. Yeah, I would if it fucking worked half the time. No matter how quickly or deliberately I input the combo, it barely ever works. Batfuck will just stun them and then jump away from them, leaving me open to an attack and possibly ruining my combo. And I get that dropped combos aren't a big deal to everyone, but after grinding through the bullshit combat challenge maps to get the platinum trophy for Asylum, they're pretty annoying to me. And to compare this series to Spider-Man one last time, it gets kind of formulaic how if there are unarmed enemies, you fight them head on, and if they have guns, it's a stealth encounter. Like, in Spider-Man, taking out enemies in stealth beforehand can be a huge advantage for when you get spotted, but in this game, there's no in-between. This in particular really irritates me because all I can think about is, the guy who's only wearing a spandex bodysuit can use stealth to take out guards only if he wants to. But stealth against armored goons is mandatory for the guy who makes specially resilient armor to compensate for his lack of superpowers. I know these games are made by different companies and different developers, and one came out 7 years after the other, but they had this figured out back in 1989! But when the goons do have guns and your only option is stealth, the swag to bullshit ratio is pretty much the same as Arkham Asylum, despite being majorly improved. I love the addition of smoke bombs to get the fuck out when you're caught, but I do think they recharge a bit too slowly. I would rather have them recharge too slowly than too fast so you don't become overly reliant on them, but it is a bit irritating to try and throw a smoke bomb to drop down and take someone out, only to realize it isn't ready yet. This shouldn't be a problem I have, as in each stealth encounter there are enough tools in the environment you can use to make smoke, like fire extinguishers, but the smoke goes away so fast that I get caught anyway. The enemy detection in this game is way better, and I love the added variety of takedowns like ledge, wall, and vent takedowns. But the encounters themselves can get a bit linear at times. Most games with fun combat are mainly fun because you can play the way you want to play. Like in this game, I abused the hell out of these gargoyles. But in some encounters like this one here, the only way to progress without losing health is to use the jammer. What's especially annoying about this part in particular is that earlier in the game, in this exact room, you could use the remote electrical charge to activate this magnet, which would take away the sniper's gun, but now that magnet is broken, so you can basically only throw out a smoke bomb or use the jammer. When you're not taking out goons though, I do have some gameplay issues that I'm confused about. Like, why are there 3 fucking screens on the penguin jammers? Why does Batman take up so much of the screen? Why do the batarangs only ever act like actual boomerangs one time? Why is the majorly improved traversal just completely piss-stained by the fact that I have to be careful where I glide or else I'm gonna get shot at? And it's not even like it kills you instantly or fucks up your gliding. You just keep going forward and watch as your health bar drops a bit until you're out of range. And the gliding does get old after a while. And I do mean it when I say it takes a while. But when you're in the post-game, the lack of focus takes its toll. To compare this series to Spider-Man for the last time, in that game I need to be constantly holding R2 and jump off the web at the right time, as well as sometimes doing point launches and running on walls. I'm always making a decision to get where I want to be as fast as possible. While in this game, I'm just holding the X button and watching Batman slowly glide across Arkham City, occasionally dive bombing or grappling to gain altitude. And I know it seems unfair to compare a game from 2018 to a game from 2011. That is a 7-year difference. So how about we give Arkham City that advantage? Let's go back 7 years from 2011 to 2004 and look at the Spider-Man 2 video game. It is the same thing here. You are constantly shooting webs, jumping off of them at the right time to either gain altitude or speed, and occasionally running on walls to get where you want to go as fast as possible. Whether it's a game 7 years before or after, I think Batman Arkham City's traversal is completely outshined. Now, it is pretty much unanimously agreed that the next game in this series, Batman Arkham Origins, has the best boss fights, but City has some really good ones too. I do agree that Origins has the best, but what other game has a Solomon Grundy fight? I'll shut the fuck up now. But nonetheless, this game does have some solid fights, and I know what you're expecting me to say. Wow guys, I was blown away by the Mr. Freeze boss fight. What a fun time. This single encounter has ruined my search history forever. But honestly, I wasn't the biggest fan. I can recognize that this is almost objectively a great boss fight, as it tests everything you've learned so far, and I love the concept of needing to use different gadgets and stealth attacks as an opening to do some real damage. And now Mr. Freeze learns from your gameplay, and you can't do the same thing twice. But I just didn't have as much fun with it as everyone else did. Stealth in this game requires a lot of patience, which is not something I have a lot of in video games. So waiting for Freeze to get into the right position to use the electromagnet, with the added anxiety of how easily he can find you and just fuck up your health bar, wasn't the most appealing to me. So while I do think it's an incredibly well executed fight, it's definitely not my favorite, as I have more stress than fun when I play it. I do have lots of fun with the Horde takedown bosses though, like the one in the Steel Mill and the Gladiator Pit, and Ra's al Ghul's Sandman cosplay is super fun. I think the two highlights of this game for me are the Grundy and Clayface fights. I love Grundy's design and how you have to dodge his huge swinging balls and try to blow up the electric thingies. My only problem with it is that Batman kinda just kills him. I guess you can't really kill a zombie if you consider it undead, but just like Grundy, this is kind of a gray area in Batman's morals. But Clayface is absolutely my favorite boss fight in this game. A lot of it is due to the fact that I love C and D tier villains in each brand, like Shocker and Killer Moth, and a lot of it is probably riding the hype of the old fake Joker gag. But I honestly adore this fight. I love how you have to hit him with the freeze bombs and how in one of the later phases, he only pops out when you slice up his minions. And I never thought that I would think Batman with a sword was cool, but hot damn, this is fucking rad. I will say though that the absolute worst boss fight in the base game is Two-Face. Yeah, I'd be shocked that there's a Two-Face boss fight as well if I hadn't just played the game, because it's technically the final boss of the base game, and is right after the main story when you play as Catwoman. I don't know if you noticed from the sound of my voice, but all the wind just got completely knocked out of my sails, and I'm incredibly bored just talking about it, because every Catwoman section just screeches the game to a halt and kills all the momentum. I know by saying what I'm about to say, all the Catwoman fans are going to come out of the woodwork, but does anyone actually like these sections of the game? Does anyone have fun here? Like, hear me out. At the end of the game, after being completely stunned by the Joker's death, your jaw is picked up off the ground because before you can free roam as Batman, you have to go fight Two-Face in a significantly worse version of the Mr. Freeze boss fight. But because Catwoman has barely any stealth moves, Two-Face never learns, so they substitute that difficulty for endless goons. It is such a repetitive drag, and is far and away the worst boss fight in possibly the entire mainline series. At the beginning of the third act, the long-awaited and ominous Protocol 10 has started. Missiles are being launched, buildings are crumbling, inmates are dying, Joker just made a deal with Talia to become immortal, and the one person who can stop him is trapped under rubble, completely helpless. When the stakes couldn't get any higher, and we're finally at the payoff of hours of well-crafted story, we cut to Catwoman so she can rob Hugo Strange. Really, really cool, guys. I really want to like Catwoman sections. I really do. A Catwoman game sounds hella fun if it's not a movie tie-in, but her gameplay is so half-baked. She has like 4 gadgets and a worse version of the grapple gun, and some of her animations just irritate the fuck out of me. Like, her ground takedown probably takes just as long as Batman's to execute, so it's just as easy to get hit, but she does so much more than he does. Batman's animation looks pretty straightforward and to the point, so when you do get hit out of it, you think, ah, fuck, that was the wrong time to do that. But when Catwoman gets hit out of it, it makes me think that it's because she was trying to look sexy while doing it. Like, get to the fucking point and kill him! And her plot relevance is just as half-baked. The only reason she's there at the right time to save Batman in the first place is because she forgot to water Poison Ivy's plants. Because Arkham City is anything but on the nose. If Rocksteady made a genuinely fleshed out Catwoman game with a good plot and fun gameplay, I would be the first in line to buy it. You can do a lot of creative stuff with that character, but she's more of a playable plot device than a character in Arkham City. I don't really have much to say regarding the technical aspects of this game, but it is a pretty substantial difference from Asylum. I had pretty much no glitches or bugs, or any noticeable ones at least, and to show you just how big of a difference there is, in the first hour of the game, the Batsuit gets damaged way more than it ever did in Arkham Asylum. And look at how the suit gets covered in clay and frost, which was pretty impressive to see. Graphically, it's not a huge step up from the last game, but given the fact that they came out only 2 years apart, it's really not that big of a deal. There is a huge difference between these games when it comes to the writing and story though. I think Joker becoming sick from the Titan and contaminating Batman to manipulate him into getting a cure is really interesting, well thought out, and improves upon the ending of the last game by giving it actual consequences. I think the choice to kill off Joker was very bold and paid off tremendously well. And I like how Batman actually has choices to make. As Protocol 10 starts and Arkham City is going up in flames, Batman still wants to go after Talia and has to choose between her and the thousands of inmates and political prisoners. And I love how even if he was going to give him the cure anyway, Batman still is tempted to let Joker die after he killed the love of his life. But I think the best part of this ending is how Talia dies and this universe will never be tainted by this fucker. Some things in the writing are a little flimsy though, like how ridiculous and comic-y the concept of Arkham City is, and Clayface's motivation for helping Joker, but they still pay off really well. I adore the fake Joker gag, and it makes a lot of this plot make sense. At first you think things like this don't really make sense and are really only there for a reveal, but after this plot twist, it all clicks. You realize, oh, that was planned and not just the game being shit. I also think it's interesting how he tries to go against Arkham City politically as Bruce Wayne, which is something we don't see often. My only problems with the writing, when it comes to the main story at least, are how Vicky Vale just kinda artificially lengthens the game a bit. Hugo Strange being Ra's al Ghul's puppet is really unnecessary, and kind of a hat on a hat. The way we find out Arkham City came to be is through interview tapes. Random goons just outright spoil the Solomon Grundy reveal and the fact that Joker is sick before we see it firsthand. And the Joker's illness is pretty inconsistent. I understand how people are annoyed that Joker's been sick for months, but Batman nearly dies from it in less than 12 hours, but I can suspend my disbelief and say that maybe over time Joker got sicker and sicker because it continued to mutate, so Batman nearly dies from it because he was infected with a mutated version. But my main problem is that even if Batman is as sick as Joker, and he only had minutes to live before drinking the mysterious evil demon soda, why didn't the Joker have only minutes to live? I know that there's a popular theory out there that Batman was much worse off than Joker because he and Joker have different blood types, but I feel like the main plot point of a game shouldn't only make sense when theorized about it. The writing in the side missions, however, and honestly the entirety of the side missions, is a complete shit show. Reviews are mainly opinionated, but often have rock-solid and inarguable examples of why you have that opinion. For example, traversal in Days Gone can seem like more of a chore in the early stages of the game, as you need to constantly maintain a speed that doesn't burn too much gasoline, and that's probably your most important resource in the game. But no matter how hard you try, you'll still find yourself frequently searching for fuel pumps, which breaks up the gameplay pretty roughly. However, the side missions in Batman Arkham City are almost objectively awful, and I've built an airtight case, starting with Exhibit A. Deadshot is a fucking dimwit. Not only does this side mission end in a humiliating excuse for a stealth encounter, but this ape-brain sniper watermarks his fucking bullet shells. If he were a mercenary like Deathstroke, then yeah, sure, advertisement is great for business. You want to make a name for yourself. But I feel as a hitman, anonymity would be your biggest asset. Not only is this one of the best ways for Deadshot to get caught, second only to showing up at Commissioner Gordon's door for dinner, but he's practically hired a marching band to walk into the Batcave with a banner that says, Deadshot is active again. But the second grade level reasoning skills don't stop there. Not only does he advertise his killings, but he shoots the guy Batman is talking to, and Batman in response just stands there and analyzes the scene.
I need to set up a crime scene here. It's the only way to find out who killed this man.
Dude, Batman is not only on your list, but one of the only people who can stop you. Take him out!
He's just standing there, menacingly!
And as a side note, Hugo Strange told Deadshot to take out both Batman and Bruce Wayne, despite already knowing they're the same person. So if Deadshot killed Wayne first, his contract would literally never end until Hugo told him they're the same person. I also fucking hate the side mission because Batman uses the most asinine technology, like the shattered bullet in The Dark Knight. Apparently, Deadshot left traces of a certain type of lead that was only ever used in paints decades ago, so therefore Deadshot has been hiding out in a much older building. Because we all love a grounded Batman, right? Exhibit B. What the fuck? When leaving the courthouse after saving Catwoman, Azrael is fully in freaky mode and is stalking you. Every time you go and talk to him, he says that he and the Order of Saint Dumas have been watching Batman for a while, and then he leaves a symbol and disappears. You scan the symbols, connect them which makes a map, and you go where it points to. You scan the symbol there, Azrael shows up and says, hey, there's a prophecy and it says you're gonna die someday. Batman says, nuh-uh, and Azrael fucks off. That is the entirety of the side mission. Oh, that's not true, because you can play catch with him. And that's the entirety of the side mission. Because that's what every Arkham fan wants. A cryptic, glorified trailing mission with no gameplay that won't mean anything until 4 years and 3 games later. Exhibit C. This is a blatant trap. In a mission that is blatantly advertised as a side mission, Alfred sends us the cure that we've been trying to create this entire game. That's really good for Batman. But as it turns out, in the biggest twist I have ever seen since Old Boy, it was a trap the whole time! The whole thing was a hallucination by the Mad Hatter. What? So he wakes up at a table with Mad Hatter and a bunch of his thugs. Hatter puts a mask on him that makes him start tripping balls, and he kicks the shit out of the thugs and takes the mask off and then knocks out Mad Hatter. And it turns out that the call from Alfred, the cure, the drop point, all of it was a hallucination by the Mad Hatter to make him see what he wanted to see the most. What the fuck? Outside of this one clip right here, we never see Mad Hatter in the main story. So when was he even in the position to give him hallucinogens? If it was here, wouldn't it affect Vicky Vale too? What's the excuse if you do it in the post-game when you're already cured? And most importantly, that's it? Exhibit D. It's exactly who you think it is. In a fashion very similar to the Azrael side quest, around the city in different alleys, you'll find dead bodies with their faces cut off and their heads wrapped in bandages. And then you use some dumb fucking tech to track the killer. Gee! I wonder who it could be! Granted, this is the first interaction Batman has had with Hush in this universe, but there is no fucking mystery here. It's like Batman finding victims of Joker gas and saying, I gotta find out who did this. They try to make some sort of twist that it's possible Batman actually did kill these people because his fingerprints were at the crime scene, but there's only one point in the game where Batman is unconscious and could have possibly killed these people. And there's no fighting Hush or stopping him. He just says, oh, you found me. Well, it was nice meeting you. And we don't get any payoff in this game or in any other game, because we all know that that side quest in Arkham Knight was lame as fuck. Exhibit E. That's a lot of shit. So, Riddler set up a bunch of his trophies around Arkham City, and hold on, how many trophies is it exactly? 400 Riddler collectibles? I'm not doing all that. And finally, Exhibit F, blow up my valuables. Now, this one in particular is really fucking stupid. And I mean really fucking stupid. So basically, Batman finds a flare at an abandoned toy factory, walks in, and finds Bane. There are a few batches of Titan around Arkham City, and since it came from his blood and his Venom formula, Bane wants it destroyed so it can't hurt anyone else. I actually kind of like this plot. It's cool to see Batman and Bane work together, especially when they fight together later in this game. So Bane says there are 12 canisters and they're each gonna try and destroy 6. Batman destroys his 6, goes and sees Bane, and then he says, fuck you, fuck off, and it turns out that he actually wanted to use the Titan for himself. He charges at Batman, Batman moves out of the way, and locks Bane in a cage that he apparently cannot break through despite being the flesh and blood equivalent of a military tank. So, let's get this straight. There are 12 canisters and Bane wants to use them for evil. So he lights a flare to get Batman's attention so Batman can blow up half of all that's left of the Titan. Then once that's all gone, he says, "Joke's on you, Batman, I'm evil." And then Batman just blows up the rest. Why the fuck didn't you just get it all yourself, Bane? Why did you tell Batman at all? Isn't this dude supposed to be a skilled tactician and have like an insanely high IQ? I feel like this would totally work if Batman found Bane grabbing a canister and Bane was like, alright, calm down, dude. I need all the Titan I can get to help reverse engineer it into a cure since Joker sent his contaminated blood to a bunch of hospitals. If you find any, can you put a tracker on it so I can come and get it? And then Batman agrees. Then Batman's like, I should go check in on Bane, and finds out that he wants to use it for himself. Then blows up all 12. But no, he told Batman what he's doing. He asked for his help. He asked him to destroy half of all the Titan there is left. Not only are these side missions completely inconsequential and brain dead, but they also show up at the most inconvenient times in the plot possible. Batman is racing against the clock to find a cure before he dies. But, you know, maybe he has time to check out what this guy in the red armor is up to. But far and away, the worst part of Arkham City is the DLC, Harley Quinn's Revenge. It is an hour long, and I will never get that hour back. It is straight ass, and I do not ever want to play it again. Let me run through the positives really quickly. Troy Baker kills it as always, playing as Robin is a cool concept, and I like his suit design. And Harley's morning outfit is super cool. But actually playing as Robin sucks dick. I get so used to Batman's animations that I always fuck up combat as Robin, and he has some lame-ass gadgets like this bullet shield. And the reason that we're playing as Robin in the first place is because Batman's been missing for 2 fucking days and nothing comes of it. The entire plot is find Batman, then you find his utility belt, which reveals Batman has some weird-ass undies, and then we find him in a ball being held by a giant lame-ass Joker statue. Then we free him, fight Wonder City bots, then go and disable a bunch of bombs by using a cryptographic sequencer, and then punching the explosives. Then some bombs blow up anyway, and apparently Robin dies, but then he shows up and he's okay, so who cares? These are some of the worst combat and stealth encounters I have ever seen. And the one boss fight is a worse copy and pasted version of a fight that is already a worse copy and pasted version of another fight. The whole DLC takes place in the steel mill, which I was so sick of seeing at that point, and I actively want to take away points from this game's score because of it. Fuck! Batman Arkham City is a perfect sequel, as it takes and expands upon the best parts of its predecessor and gets rid of a lot of the game's flaws. It is nowhere near a perfect game though, with its gameplay and glaring plot problems. It was definitely fun to replay it, and I really admire some of the bold choices that they made. On its own, I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10, but my official score for Batman Arkham City, with Harley Quinn's Revenge included, is an 8 out of 10. It is a really great time, with a fantastic twist and cast of characters, but please, for your own sake, do not play the DLC!